Hi guys, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good day. Whoever has come into the webinar room, my name is Albert Tan from downloadsilo.com, and on my left hand side, I guess it's on the left hand side in the screen, it's a Henry Wan. So Henry will be the speaker of today. And before we start, we will just say hi to everybody. So if you do not know who am I, I'm a founder of Download Silo. And Henry Wan is the founder of this Basic Insight. So today's topic is actually market research techniques that work in 2022. So before we actually what I call interview Henry Wan and also let him present his presentation, I would like to show you some of the things that I want to tell you just before the webinar. So let me share my screen, guys. Okay, you can see the screen. This is the Facebook group that we actually announced this market research technique that work in 2022 webinar. So what is actually this webinar all about? So basically, this is a member spotlight webinar, and the very first one that we are holding it in this Bigmarker platform. And to give you a background of what this members spotlight webinar series is all about, let me go through with you. During the last Download Silo Chinese New Year virtual gathering, a lot of members came together to brainstorm what would be beneficial to all by organizing some live session, or some people call it webinars, in which we will choose, not to say choose, we will invite a member of the group, to share his wisdom, knowledge, as well as also experience if he's running a business, online business or offline business, So the webinar series will actually features, members. So we will try to make the webinar as a no fluff, no selling, and down to earth useful information for members to learn, as well as also to exchange experiences together. So this is our very first webinar series, and we call it a member spotlight webinar series. So with this, I would like to welcome you guys, who are actually in our webinar now. So if you can hear me or see us, please type your name and also say something in the chat box, And I can see that, we have a few guys here already. Chi Wai Kok, Emily Chan, Andrew Lee, Stephen Chow. Let me see who else. Raguna, Rodrigo, Palma, and a few more guys. Yeah. Okay, nice. Before we actually start it, let me warm up the stage and let me ask Henry a few maybe personal question, So Henry, are you ready?
Yeah, can. Please
Okay.
ask any, not so personal, Albert.
No worry. Nothing what I call will intrude to your privacy, So it's just general question. Okay, just tell us what is your background, Because before we actually want to know the content, it's best to understand who is the speaker, what kind of business you do, what type of background you come from.
Okay, first of all, I'm actually more of an entrepreneur rather than a market research expert. So just to have a disclaimer here, I'm not really a market research expert. What I do is I run a market research firm. So how I come into market research is actually like any other businessman. They will just jump into things that they don't know. And I've been running this business for I think almost 8 years. So from there, even I learn on my own some of the thing in market research. But I'm not trained as market research, and I'm not what people call a market researcher. So other than that, I'm also doing other businesses. So one of it is GoTo.my. So GoTo.my is a SaaS. It's not an LTD like you guys like, but is actually as a non-LTD SaaS, and that's how I met Albert. So Albert invited me to come into Download Silo after I introduced GoTo.my on Product Hunt.
Okay, thank you, Henry Wan. You are a humble person, I know. So maybe I should read out your bio. So okay, Henry is a serial entrepreneur. With more than 25 years working experience. For the last 8 years, I think he's
Do you
in
want me
market
to share screen? Sorry.
Sure, no problem. You can share that.
Okay, easier.
Okay, you can see that from the screen. Henry has a lot of experience in the IT industry since 1996, in banking, publishing, as well as research, So he himself is a lifetime coder and also a cloud adopter since 2009. And he has he has been a digital advertisement, or we call it a publishing consultant to the following publication, Harper's Bazaar, The Pig, Rob Report, Esquire, and currently he is actually the director of this Basic Insight, which actually specializes in market research, traditional market research, as well as online market research. So as you said that, he also launched a SaaS last year, that is a GoTo.my, in AppSumo. And he also owned this website called MoveUp.com. So without further ado, let's welcome Henry, and he will take over what I call the screen, and you start his presentation. If you have any question you want to ask, please just type it in the right hand side of the chat box, and we will answer it accordingly after the presentation. Henry,
Okay.
your turn now.
All right. So just to add on, I'm more of a tech guy. Just happened that I own a market research firm, which I launched about 8 years ago. So I think the main topic of this, this session would be more on market research, but also a bit on LTD also. Okay, so just to share on my own LTD journey that brought me to Download Silo. So it all started in 2020 via Copysmith. I bought that first deal. Then from there, I never stopped. Thanks to group like Albert Group and Kenmu Group. So from there, I start buying more LTD. But some of the LTD, as I show on the screen, is quite interesting. And interestingly, some of it, I managed to ROI quite fast. Meaning I bought the LTD, and immediately after that, I managed to actually get a few clients to sign up. And from there, I got quite fast ROI. So those are usually kind of LTD that you spend a bit more. So if you see here, so and I have a bunch of very useful LTD that I use every day. Copysmith, InVideo, Hexel Watch, all either from AppSumo or PageGround. Like I said, I launched my own GoTo.my, not yet LTD, maybe in the future. I don't know yet. Depend on you guys here. And of course, I also have some very bad LTD, Linguid, Atom Chat, and surprisingly, I would put Copysmith as worst LTD also, due to their drama on our LTD community. Yeah. So, should I elaborate more on the LTD?
No, I think you should jump into market research.
Okay.
I think those guys are more what they call waiting for these techniques,
Okay. All right. So just to explain a bit market research in general. So there's a few type of market research. So normally we will do what we call as the primary market research. So primary means that the one that we actually we do our own study, and we create the study, and the study have all this process on the left, And secondary means the study is already there. So you find a research that may be suitable for you and you use it. So mostly in the market research world, we divided into two. We call it qual and quant. So qual is those really more about data, about numbers. Well, sorry, quant is more about data and numbers. While qual is more about like maybe we are looking at the wording, how people actually talk about the research. Is so it's more on number versus word versus each other. Okay. So the most important thing when you do market research is you must have an objective. So normally it is branding, customer, competitor. Maybe you want to know how to price a certain product. What features should I need to add onto the product rather than just simply add and incur maybe like you add more product, you add more feature than you need to add more cost. So like Albert said, we are not selling anything. I mean, on my side, I'm not selling anything. And okay, you see, the last objective here is, of course, is the revenue, and the other thing is CYA. So most of my client is what I call a CYA client. So for you guys who don't know what a CYA is, basically cover your ass. Because when you, why they do survey is that we usually market it to the big corporate client, and mostly they don't, compare to us small firm, we don't really care about the actual revenue. So they are more care like, hey, if I make this decision, what can be used to CYA lah. So they use market research to do CYA. So because of
You
that,
mean
our
Henry? Just to interrupt a bit. When they use the CYA, means the top management want to use this market research to justify their action, right?
yeah, to justify their decision.
Yeah,
So
this
what
their
happened
decision,
is,
their action.
yeah, decision action. So normally in most cases, they already know which way they want to go, what kind of pricing they want to do, what kind of product they want to do. They just need somebody to verify it. So of course
Yeah,
they can't
validation. We call it validation, right?
validation. So they can't validate it themselves. So they need a agency like Nielsen, Ipsos, those big agency to validate this data. So my business is basically supporting the bigger agencies to come up with the market research analyst. So normally in my business, it will be mostly on the recruitment side, data acquisition and data processing. So very, very rarely, I would say about maybe 5% of my customer is a direct customer. So the reason is, I'll tell you the reason later. So of course, market research have a lot of method. You can do survey, focus group, mystery shopper. These are just a few of it. There's even more. And of course, it can be also tech oriented. It's something that you might have done already, like analytics. You might have done your own heat maps. And of course, there's emerging one like eye tracking and AI. Okay, so back to the validation just now, the CYA. So these are the real life example. So where they use all this finding. So you can see sometimes when you go to presentation, and sometimes these are by big corporate like Google, Amazon. So even whatever they say, right, is backed by the big agency. So for example, in this screen, I show example from Google and Ipsos. So that means they work with a big agency to validate their numbers. So when they actually present something, so we know that is most of the time is a fact. And of course, I mean, the more practical usage of market research is to basically, for example, one of my client want to find out what's the best price to sell a house. So we actually come up with a survey and to check on the pricing and to come up with what is the ideal price, what is the criteria they're looking for, what is the expected facilities. So over the years, we have done all of these are actually what we have done in the past. Some of it quite interesting, like for example, the rebranding of a national airline. So we test their logo out, see which logo is suitable. So you can use market research to test your branding as well. So for the purpose for today, I think we will be more on digital marketing. So we have like how to improve your landing page, how to do your product pricing, and the third one is quite interesting. Let's say you do a lot of advertising through Facebook and Google. So most of the time you need to set the targeting. So most of the time the targeting is based on your assumption or maybe your existing customer. So market research actually help to expand further to actually like to help you to do the set targeting, to choose the right content, and we have client also which actually use market research to find out which influencers for you to collaborate with to get better impact and for their audience. So and last one is customer satisfaction. So let's say your product is already in the market for a few years. Uh, what is their satisfaction of their product? Okay.
Okay, Henry, let me interrupt a bit. Just
Can
now I
can.
heard you say that, logo of the airlines,
Hmm.
I mean, as a layman like me, maybe we are not so what I call advertisement ready, or what I call advertisement expert. Is the logo of an airline really play an important role in marketing or sales? I don't know.
Mm, actually, yes. So
Oh
I
yes.
will show. It's definitely yes. So for example, our own government, the Malaysian government. So Albert and me is Malaysian. We launched a smart meter for our electric. So we even tested what kind of like branding and logo that is suitable for the smart meter. And beyond just logo, you might have like even different ad creative. So, like example, whenever you do a Facebook ad, you might want to put in a picture or video. So we show them to the target audience and ask them to comment. This is more what we call qualitative research. So whether what they think about the creative work. So some of the answer is quite funny. Some say, "Wow, look like a copy paste job." So this is the real reaction from the audience,
Mm-hmm.
from the
Interesting.
respondent. Yeah. So even not necessarily digital marketing. Let's say you have a paper brochure, so we can use eye tracking to see whether your brochure is actually easy to read and easy to get the information on that brochure. And due to
Can you
COVID
show the
recently,
next slide? I think that is on the next slide, right?
no, not yet. So
Not yet. Okay.
I'll show on the eye tracking later. So we also have this recently COVID. So how do the population feel about the COVID information by the government? So we do this kind of research as well to see the impact on the general population. Okay, so on the practical side, you don't have to go to a big agency to do your own market research. So that is the key takeaway for this my presentation. So if anything that is important to take away from my presentation today, I would say you can do your own market survey. And most of the time, the one that you do yourself works better than what the big agency is doing. Because when you do it yourself, you can make it, I would call targeted and make it small. So let me explain. So this is one of the example of how to do market research, which is a survey. So I'm sure you have seen a lot of this survey software on the AppSumo, for example. Okay, so normally for survey from a market research perspective, we usually use a bit more comprehensive one lah. So we call it the big SAS platform. So for example, I'm using Alchema. You can check it out. Most of the bigger agency will be using Qualtrics. We don't use Qualtrics because it's expensive. And I think everybody have heard of SurveyMonkey before. You can sign up for SurveyMonkey for free. So some of the smaller one like Marquis is actually you can do your own quiz, which technically also a survey, and you have like I said a few more SAS you can get from AppSumo. Or if you're a developer, you probably might even consider of doing your own survey form. So for my site, I use Formidable, and I think we hosted. I think Albert hosted this .NET form before, if I'm not mistaken,
Yeah.
about few months back. Yeah. So you can do this with your, if you know how to develop, you can actually develop your own survey. But I don't really recommend that because it's actually a waste of time when you can go for SurveyMonkey or even a cheaper survey platform to get it quickly. The key is to do your survey quickly and to get it out on the market. So when you do survey, right? So the most of the mistake that probably a layman will do is that they will use their own database. This is actually the usual common problem. So that's why if you see, right, if you let's say use Google or maybe Amazon and all that, right, you will see that even Google, they don't use their own database to do survey. So what they do is to find their respondent for their survey, they actually go outside of their own database to get the respondent. The reason is to make sure that they are looking beyond their customer. So for our site, where do we get these people to fill up the survey is we call it panel. So panel could be companies from, you have membership with the petrol cards, or maybe some you sign up for e-commerce, or maybe some other even, you heard of Cambridge Analytica before. So these are the people
Yes.
who sell your information. So we sometimes broker from this company to actually to legally send you a survey invitation to fill up the survey, and normally it's a paid survey. That means we pay a token, or maybe we give like this voucher for their trouble to fill up the survey. So, and of course, if you don't want to go through this panel, which is generally is quite expensive per respondent, so you can actually do your own social media advertisement. So let's say you have certain audience that you feel that you're not getting to buy your product. So probably you can actually use the social media ad, let them run through the survey, maybe a survey about your product, and you probably get something that is something new. You learn something new. So the last one is the traditional one. We're still doing this during COVID. Is much more less, which is a street intercept. And street intercept actually sometimes can be useful. So sometimes we the digital marketing people are very biased towards getting respondent from online. So street intercept is good because that not everyone are actually online. Okay, I'm sure things are a bit more different now, but there are still some old folk. They are still not really, you really trust the digital platform. So this is when we use the street intercept. Okay, so on the left side here, I show you some of the example of the survey. So the top one is from Alchema. This one is a custom developed survey, and the third one is from Malchris. So you can actually even embed it to your landing page, and or even coming out from the advertisement, and for them to actually to fill up the survey. So I wait forward to see any question regarding this survey platform, because this is
I
the
think
area that
no, I think there's
yeah.
no question because maybe because most of us, let's say, I mean, our audience are actually digital marketers or maybe
Mm,
agencies. So
mm,
maybe I want to ask one question. I know
mm,
that survey can be very complicated. It depends on how you what I call put your question, because the question is important. If you ask the wrong question, you get a wrong answer, I believe. So how do we,
mm.
design the question,
Okay, so back to the process earlier, right? So again, your objective is very important. So the problem I have with most of my client is that, especially on the Asian side, right? They like to, hey, I'm paying so much for you to build a survey. I want to fill up as many questions as possible. So sometimes it can
Uh-huh.
be like 20 question, 30 question. We call it a 30-minute survey or even 1 hour survey.
That's too long.
So yes, but it's common here in the Asia side. It's too long. You are right. So the thing is you have to reduce the number of questions. If it's too long, somehow the respondent will drop off halfway.
What is the
So
ideal length, of the number of questions,
we call it less than 5 minutes lah.
or less than five
So
minutes?
it
Maybe less.
less than five
Mhm.
minutes. So 5 minutes, probably around I say 10 questions. Even that also I think too long. So I always encourage my client to actually to reduce the number of questions. But most of the time it's impossible lah, because I think they pay so much to get the respondent, to get us to design the question. So they want to do half an hour or 1 hour kind of question in the end. So if you are not sure what question to put, right? So you can uh, this is I would say you can actually get some researcher to design the question for you, a real researcher to design question for you. So not us. We are actually we don't really sell what they call it this questionnaire design. But there are out there. There are a lot of researchers actually who can help you to properly design this. And normally, this is run by what they want at the end. So the question is usually at the end of the day, what you want to know is the pricing of the product. Is it the where is the location of your customer, or maybe what kind of influencer or YouTuber that they follow. So the question might be one or two. Okay. So that's on the input of the survey. So we also have the most important one, which is once you have done the survey, collect the data. So normally you have the survey output. So most of the platform will come with very nice reporting, like you see on the screen. Uh, for us, we work at very a lot of numbers, so we export to Excel. The reason is we want to do additional analytic on it, so it could come in terms of like the tabulation. So what tabulation mean is like, let's say one part of the question I want to compare with the maybe the audience, the demographic, the age, the sex, the race, and all that. So this is called tabulation. So this is a bit of a manual work. So sometimes, let's say you do a very large number of surveys. So, the number of the respondent, what we call it, the sample size, also very important. So how many sample size you want to get? Is it 500? Is it 1,000? Is it 10,000? So most of the time I work in the range of between 500 to 1,000. So normally that is in one location. For example, in KL. So 500 usually is enough for us to get really a significant data. And of course, if you are doing all the validation on the CYA, you want to make it beautiful, then you can use platform like Tableau to actually to make the graph a bit more beautiful. But for me, it's not necessary. At the end of the day, you want to know, like, for example, here they say unwilling to, willing to, very willing to. So these are the kind of things I want to see. Yeah. So that's for the output. This is survey, which is the common thing for market research. We also do this, what we call focus group. This is a bit more interesting. Remember you asked me about the logo, how we actually test out logo. So what we do is we get, for example, focus group, maybe we get like 10 people or maybe less. They sit down together. We will show them maybe an ad copy, and you see all the people here. So from there, they will look at the ad copy and start a discussion, talking to each other and all that. So normally there will be one moderator. So a moderator is normally a neutral guy. You should not be a moderator yourself, because there will be bias and you might get agitated yourself. So we normally have a neutral moderator to sit down and to discuss, hey, why do you say this about this ad copy? Why do you feel that this ad copy is not nice? So from there, they open up and do the discussion and all that. So again, it's a normal process of looking for the correct people to attend this focus group. And like Chiwai asking here, how do you qualify a respondent? So what we do is, even before they attend the focus group, we actually will screen them out. So to see whether they are suitable or not suitable for this focus group. Are there, like, for example, in Malaysia, we like to use race, but this is, I think, is not really applicable to the rest of the world. So for example, in Malaysia, we want to have Malay, Chinese, and Indian representation. So, or maybe, let's say in terms of language, we want to have, like, maybe if your target market is general, so you might want to target like 60 and above, like Albert here. I don't know, I think Albert is 60 and above, right? So they want a group like a 40 and above. So we will screen them before that and put them into a specific group. So before COVID, normally this is I actually I used to own a facility where we do this focus group. So normally it's a meeting room. So behind the meeting room, we have a one-way mirror. So one-way mirror, we put in our client behind that. They will observe how these participants interact with each other. So now
like
with
police station or like that.
yeah, like the interrogation room. So you put one moderator there, and like people will like start talking, and the client will observe. And if they think they have a question on the spot, they will ask the moderator to ask the question to the respondent. So nowadays we have Zoom, which I mostly use to actually run all these focus group. So focus group is actually quite an interesting avenue. I think a lot of people outside our market research industry, they don't really use focus group. It's one way to actually to improve your product. So there is another type which is called IDI. IDI, we call it in-depth interview. So that's more one-on-one session, but it's almost the same as a focus group. So again, like I say, on the platform side, you can use anything that you have or whatever Albert having on the download silo also. And most important thing, when you do focus group, don't forget to record. I always forget that. Yeah. So once you record, you can actually review again and see the second round, third round. Then you might find things that are interesting. Okay, so that's on focus group. Okay, and we have the thing that probably most digital marketing are actually familiar with, the analytics. So on the analytics side, there's a lot of things you can do rather than just Google Analytics. You can actually get on a platform like Crazy Egg, and we have Bloody. Bloody used to be a LTD, and we have Microsoft Clarity, which is free. By the way, Crazy Egg nowadays is quite expensive. It's a monthly basis kind of charges. We have this Visual Eyes. Visual Eyes was quite interesting. It was on LTD one time. So what they do is that you actually embed something on your landing page or website. Then after you getting maybe enough sample, that means you run it for 3 to 6 months, then you probably like see like where do people go on your website. Is it they only focus on the top part? What is the what they call it, the average height that they look at, they focus at before they drop off. So for example, are some button actually hidden? So these are the kind of things you can do with what they call it, analytics. And of course, all the other usual thing from the Google Analytics. So what's the usage for this is that you can immediately improve your landing page, and from there you can like keep your user on the website. And of course, is whenever you do revamp. So normally actually do most of the analytic for client is for revamp. So when they want to revamp a certain website, so they will run the analytics kind of research with me first, and they do things like, is the font is big enough, and things like that. So what you see here is the scroll map and the heat map. Visual recording is that mean they will record the user behavior on the site. So you can see that whether they like scroll down, they zoom in, zoom out. They zoom in means that probably your font is too small. You need a bigger font. So these are the kind of things you need to test out. Okay. So that's on the market research analytics. Okay, so more on the future stuff here. So for example, just now I was talking about brochure, or even back to the landing page again. You can actually, we have this, it's not actually a new technology, it's quite an old technology. It's eye tracking. So the market leader in this is Tobii. I can't find any other competitor on this space. So they are the market leader for eye tracking. So basically, if let's say just now heat map, maybe it's depend on your scroll and your movement of the mouse. So eye tracking means they actually track where you go on the screen or maybe on the paper. So it's quite interesting. It's much more accurate than the heat maps. And as the future things come like AI and all that, we are also looking at things like computer vision. So computer vision means that let's say I was doing interview IDI with a respondent. So instead of like I'm guessing whether he happy or not based on what he say, we can use things like Amazon recognition. You can look at this Jeff Bezos face here to see whether like is he like expressing joy, sorrow, anger, with the surprise, this kind of thing. And lastly is the what I call the secondary research just now. You can actually get instant market research from some of other these what I call it a provider. So we have Statista. So in Malaysia, if let's say you need a really fast market research, I can actually recommend you to our competitor, Watch.ai. Yeah. So this
What
is.
do you mean by instant market research, Henry? I mean, I don't understand.
Okay, so in a traditional market research, sometimes when you want to do market research, it takes very long time because we have to design it first. Then after that, we have to get the respondent. Sometimes it will take like 2-3 weeks to get the 500 sample size or 1,000 sample size. So what happened with this instant market research, I call it, is that they already have a database of what people's sentiment is. So they just match to that, and actually they come up with instant analysis. So one of the things I talked just now is visual eyes, right? So instead of actually putting your website to do heat map, to embed tracking on your website, visual eyes basically have a database of people using website, and from there they can actually predict the heat map without you actually need to track. I mean, they use their big database to actually to match.
But I personally I don't think it's accurate because unless the database is very big and it cover all kind of industries or website, right?
It's mostly not bad, I would say, but problem is very Western centric.
I see.
So
Okay.
in on the, let's say for the Asia side, the Asian maybe looks things differently, so it could be not accurate. So for most of the time, I don't really recommend instant market research unless you want to save costs or you need it very fast. Okay,
Okay.
so am I going too fast? Because I think we are in
No,
a Q&A already.
I thought you haven't finished just now the last slide.
Oh, this done. That's all.
Yeah, this slide. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't quite understand. The eye tracking, the Tobio. Tobio is just the camera, the spec, is it or what?
Okay, there's two type of eye tracking. One is where you put on this spec. That means you bring your respondent and put in the spec, and you show them maybe either the landing page, the brochure, or even, for example, you have a shopping chef. So
I
let's say
see. I see.
where they're looking up, middle, bottom. So with this spec, it will be quite accurate. So nowadays,
Okay.
the technology is so good, you don't even need the spec anymore. So you have something that is in front of you that can track your retina.
Oh,
So
that
you don't
means
even need the spec anymore.
uh, then what about this Amazon recognition and Google Cloud Vision? Is it the same thing?
No, this is more like on the one of the usage lah. I will show here is that to put a video maybe at a certain place and to see whether how they, let's say you put a camera at an ATM and the guy like probably like doing some transaction there, so you want to see whether they are happy or not happy. So AI can actually recognize your face and to see whether you are smiling or not smiling or you're very not unhappy. So this kind of thing is the kind of what I say the future of market research. And another interesting thing is that, for example, you want to track the traffic of the, let's say, a shopping mall. So what you can do is that you can actually like track the number of people like turning on their Wi-Fi, and we can see like, oh, today heavy traffic. What time? Morning is more traffic, at night less traffic. So we know the timing of the people that going in and out. So these are the new thing the new thing.
I see. Interesting. I didn't
Yeah.
know you have all this what I call AI technology.
Yeah, but to be honest, this is very slow adoption even in my industry. So we are still not many people are using it lah. But I think as the years progress, it will be quite common lah. The technology is there lah. It's not that hard.
Okay, come back to our okay. What you have said just now, talking about sample size 500 to 1,000. So, I mean, that is for physical product or maybe for a big company, they might want to have this sample size. Let's shrink it to our small agencies, digital marketing agencies. So it's quite impossible, if you are starting out or maybe you are a small guy, to get to survey 1,000 people or to survey 500 people. What is the actual recommended sample size instead of 500 or 1,000?
Okay, the sample size is basically is depend on what we call it. Is it like statistically significant or not? So, for example, like let's say I'm doing survey that is a lot of different age segment. Let's say like I have 5 group of age. Let's say from young, old, 40 something. So let's say I have like 5 different segment, and that will determine your sample size. You see, the more variation that you have, the bigger sample size that you need to test your idea. So until what we call it as a statistically significant, then it's determine the sample size. So 500 is actually quite small. Normally 500 is can cover, like for example, one city and maybe like a few people. I've seen 300 sample size, but nothing less than that.
I see. So, I mean, of course, you have to depend on what it calls statistics, you know. So, the bigger the number, the better it is, definitely.
Yeah, and to be honest, 300 to 500 is easily achievable with your small budget.
Okay, I understand. So, if any guys want to do any survey, just come to our group. We just push out to every member. So, we see
Yeah,
whether you
correct.
can get maybe 100 or 200, you know. But the issue is, if you do a survey, a lot of people are not willing to do because unless there is some incentive, you know, as you say, you may give them a gift or that kind of things.
Yeah, so usually that is a must lah. So some kind
Yes.
of thing. So, and the incentive also depends on like what kind of audience you look at. So for example, for a mass market survey, the token no need to be big. Maybe $5 kind of a token is good enough. But for example, let's say you want to survey for people who are spending a bit more. Let's say they are the surveying on the people who buy car. So we are paying like maybe 100 or 200 US dollar for their time for per survey. So it's depend on the what we call the audience affinity.
Wow, 100 to $500 per survey.
Yes, it is possible.
Next time you choose me now.
Can I know you're driving expensive car, so
Yeah, I mean, this what they call a physical product with a high cost product. Maybe you can do. I mean, the company willing to pay that, you know. But then for small, you know,
for a small
small.
agency, I think sometimes you don't even have to pay. Just say that we are starting up, you want to find out more. So sometimes paying also is can backfire because some people who we call it, you know, people there are people who actually just like sitting every day and just wait for survey to answer the survey. So we have people like this. So sometimes those non-paying survey is sometimes even better because they are actually not so biased lah.
I see. Because yeah, that's it. You know. Okay, so market size survey, but I think for survey, personally, I find that the question, how to construct the question, and that is important, because as you say, you have a researcher is better, but if you don't have a researcher, how you have to do it
So
on
again,
yourself.
basically is the objective. So for example, you give me an objective, maybe I can like construct a question
Okay,
for
for
you.
example, this as a coach, let's say a small time coach, he want to find out what kind of a customer that that will want to buy his product, his coaching product business. So how do you
Okay.
to construct the question,
Okay. The question quite the most important thing is that where you want to like I mean to find out more on like who want to buy his coaching and all that. So I'm guessing he's trying to do advertisement, the objective, to come up with a creative to advertise his
No,
product.
if you want to find out what
Where?
content you want to give it to the customer.
Okay. I see. So what content? Yeah. So what content? So probably what they can do is, let me think. Yeah, I'm a bit slow on this. What content? So probably he will like ask question like what kind of content that you read usually, like what publication do you read. So for example, I do publication, right? So what kind of other publication or what kind of other coach that you go to, for example, which YouTuber you follow. So it could be just one question. Let's say the guy is mostly on the doing video coaching and all that. What kind of YouTuber you follow? So from there, if I know what YouTuber you follow, so probably I can like come up with like that kind of content that the audience is looking for. So again, you have to combine the question with sometimes you have to combine the question with the demographic. So to ask like, what's your age? What's your gender? What is your like interest? So you add this maybe three or four demographic question, then maybe one or two actual question. You have 5 questions, then that's it. Don't go too much.
I see.
So
I
5 questions is quite good already. So from there you can probably like know like this audience like this kind of content, this audience like this kind of content.
Okay, I understand. So, but then normally, let's say I do a survey, I will ask 10 questions. So I don't know whether will it be sufficient. Or maybe it's too long. As you say, 5 questions will be best.
No,
But as
no,
you
I
say,
think 10 question is quite standard. Not, there's no right and wrong actually. Some, like I said, some client ask like 40 question and people still answer it. So there's no right and wrong. But the less is, for me, like my personal opinion, the less is better. It's much more accurate.
okay. So yeah, there are not many questions. So let's, Henry, you can check the right hand side. There's some question being asked.
Okay, the second last question by Chiwai, actually only Chiwai asking question. It's actually quite interesting. I found I wanted to cover this earlier, but I forgot. So most of the time when we go out there, try to market our market research, so we encounter a lot of people I call the marketer. So most of the time, I found out the marketing people are not really keen to do what they call it market research. Actually, I would say market research and digital marketing sometimes is not compatible because digital marketing people think more of the the creative side of it. What kind of like copy that I want to do. Sometimes it's based on their creativity. So marketer people are more like creative people. So market research people are more data driven. So a lot of times we found that kind of conflict whereby the marketing people, they don't like market research people to come in. For example, I have a client who is a creative agency. So their end client asks us to test their creative. So most of the time it's end up in conflict because the respondent will say, hey, your creative really look like shit. So yeah. So that's why is for us it's very hard to sell market research to digital marketing agency. We found it easier to sell to corporate or even to our customer, which is a big research agency. And
No,
honestly, if I get one or two digital marketing client, it will be like a miracle already per year. So that's why I can't sell the product to you guys because if I sell it, it will be quite expensive. Yeah. So most of the time people say, wow. But then again, why we do market research is that, let's say, for example, like a corporate launching a product, let's say, for example, instant noodle. So they know the product is going to generate millions and millions of revenue. So probably spending 50,000 or 100,000 for them is nothing compared to the revenue that I get. But how do we justify this, doing this for digital agency? Not just time consuming, it's also costly. So that's why sometimes I would think digital marketing sometimes is not really compatible with this market research. So that's why the key takeaway from my presentation here, if that you can do it yourself and you can like do it like very guerrilla style, is good enough. And you don't have to go, even if you think you cannot get 300 sample size, sometimes 100 sample size you can find things that is useful for you. So not necessarily you have to go to people like, Nielsen, Ipsos to do market research. You can do it yourself. And definitely don't come to me and ask me to do if if your revenue is not that big compared to corporate. It's really is a waste of money.
Yeah, definitely, because for small business, they have to do most of the thing on themselves.
Yeah.
Okay.
So maybe I should change the title. We should change the title of presentation. Why not to do why not do market research?
Okay, no problem. Okay, we have some audience here. Charles Yo, are you around? I see your name there, Charles. Because Charles might have some question.
Okay. Is that from Facebook?
Hmm?
Is that from Facebook or from Bigmarker?
No, he is he one of the attendees.
Oh, okay.
Okay, we have Sujit Biswas, Yan Hee, Sijo. Anybody have any question? Stephen Chow? Because sometimes the names are there, but then sometimes they are actually wandering away on other
Yeah.
website. That's
Yeah.
common.
Sometimes I do that also, just to be honest. So sometimes I just wait until the end of your what they call giveaway. Okay, now time to join giveaway.
Okay, Sijo, you have any question? Or Yan Hee, you have any question? No question. Or is it the topic too generic, or maybe too boring, or whatever? Let me see. How affordable are your services?
Oh,
I
that
think it's
that I answered
expensive.
before. Yeah, it's expensive.
Yeah, because most small timer digital marketers would not be able to afford, and also you have to do it yourself, DIY.
And
Okay.
what one of the thing you can do is probably look at secondary research. Maybe there is already existing research on whatever topic that you are looking for. Some of it public, some of it you have to pay.
Okay, Charles Yeo answers that, he's on mobile listening and having dinner. What time already? Now it's 11 o'clock. You're having dinner. That is, you must be working very hard. Okay, guys, I think this is all that we have.
Uh,
Time is about time now. So maybe
the
Henry,
last
you
slide.
want to say something? Yeah, sure.
Oh yeah, I think you asked me to talk about the entrepreneurial journey.
Okay. Charles said that you had advised some startup is a must for all startup to do validation via research. So
Yeah,
Charles is also
so
an entrepreneur.
uh,
So
yeah, so we have cases where you start out, you want to probably burn your money of like maybe $1 million. So you are not sure whether you want to spend that $1 million or the investor want to spend that $1 million. So probably spending that a percentage of the amount to actually validate the idea is actually will be quite saving if you are honest to yourself lah. So for example, let's say the result is really bad, did you still proceed to spend that capital that is needed to do the startup? So most of the time, as you know, startup are not easy. Most of the time they fail, and they fail because there are no market for it, or people just not really need that product lah.
Yeah, I think failure rate in the startup is a lot more because I mean that is the fact, you know. So if not, and everybody also become millionaire because there are so thousands of startup in the market,
Yeah.
right?
So, and most of the time, I would say because what happened is there'll be during my time as a tech consultant. So a lot of like client friends come to me. Hey, I got this idea. I want to start up an e-commerce. I want to start up an apps and all that. So that one doesn't even need a market research. I would say I will ask them all the basic question, and most of the time I will discourage them to not to do the startup. So that is my story as well lah. Because how I become an entrepreneur is actually not by choice. Because uh, about me, I don't really have any like paper qualification, so it's hard for me to go to the next level whenever I in a corporate and all that. So without a degree, it's almost impossible for you to go to the executive level. So that's where how I forced myself to become an entrepreneur, because nobody want to hire me.
So that's interesting, you know. So
Yeah,
I mean, it's all kind of a story around, you know. So Bill Gates, you know, or even what they call founder of Apple, you know, they start up in the garage.
correct.
So
But really, if anybody come up to me, they say, "Hey, I want to become entrepreneur." The first thing I'll do is I'll discourage them first. So it's not an easy road. If you can have employment, I will most of the time advise them to become a employee. It's much easier on your life, because to become entrepreneur you have to think a lot of things. So cash flow, staff, hiring, firing. So a lot of drama every week. You have to find client. If you have no client, then how to get a thing. And of course, one of the thing is that you start up a product and nobody buy. So that's the worst thing. And you really like spend a lot of money and time and effort on it.
yeah, you are right, you know. So I think we have actually crossed the 1 hour mark. So before we actually close, Henry, you have anything to add, you know, or maybe any audience have any question to ask, you know, or else we will just do some wrap up and we say goodbye.
Nothing much other than thank you for inviting me for the today's session. I'm honored to become your first, what I call it, first guy to
Member
do
spotlight.
this member spotlight. So, but I wonder whether we should. I don't know. It's just a suggestion whether we should like very targeted on a certain topic. Maybe it should be a bit more casual. I don't know.
Yeah, that's why we do not know. This is also one of the real market research we are doing, you know. Just do it and see whether how is the response, you know, and we will
Correct.
improve as time go by. Because, but personally, I feel that the topics do play an important part because most people in the LTD community are actually small timers, small agency, or maybe they have quite a big agency. They have maybe 5 or 10 to people. You know, they are not corporate people, most of them. So that's why, you know, the topics could be an important issue. And I would say that, you know, because time is precious for everyone. You know,
Correct.
to get somebody to sit in a room or maybe a webinar room like this for 1 hour, it's not easy, my experience. So I'm glad that we have about 20 people, all in. Those who come in, even until now we have 13 people here. So I'm glad that we will start up like that. I would say that it's something for us to move forward, and hopefully next week we will have another members spotlight webinar, and I'm finalizing the detail with one of the members, and that topic could be very interesting because I know everybody will want that topic, because that actually affect them very, very deeply, So if nothing goes wrong, we will have next Friday the members spotlight for next Friday. Okay, so
Oh
just
yeah,
stay.
almost forgot. Just now I was talking before we start this webinar. Since I think the responses were quite good today, so probably I would like to do one giveaway for GoTo.my.
Oh, is it
Yeah, I'll
because
give one
I did
LTD.
lifetime deal.
Lifetime deal. It's just a bonus lah. We never announce,
Yeah,
so
because
it's just
we
you as
also
a
I
bonus.
also do not know it, to be frank, guys. So since what they call this, Henry want to do it, why not, So let me see whether how to do the.
You still have the wheel.
No, there is a wheel, but then there's a lucky draw. Let me check. Okay, so we just draw one winner from the live audience because there is a built-in wheel inside this webinar platform. So I will just
Okay,
spin and see who win, right? Should we
right.
spin now? Did you hear me?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, but no, what I mean is there is a built-in function in this big webinar. They will choose one of the candidate from this, what they
Okay, so
call,
I will stop sharing my screen so easier for you to go.
I don't know whether it will actually show up, but I haven't tried that,
Okay, let's
Let
try.
me, yeah, let me draw it, because they call it lucky draw. Okay, let me spin it. No, because some of them has left. So we have to do it separately. Let me do it separately. Hold on, let me share my screen. Okay, this bring in. So I just put in the names that I have. There is somebody, I mean, those who have come in, but I could have missed out some name, to be frank.
How come the wheel so slow?
Okay, so I just spin one name, and then we will actually choose from here. Okay,
Alright, let's do it.
let's move it. Oh, Andrew Lee. Okay, congratulations, Andrew Lee.
Okay, just type in your email here so I can.
I don't know whether he's still here because he might have left. He told me that he's leaving earlier.
Okay,
So
I
never
think you can
mind.
contact him
Tomorrow
lah.
I will
Yeah.
just announce it in the what they call in our Facebook group. Then see whether no he not reply because he told me earlier he might be leaving earlier. Okay, so Andrew Lee. Oh, you are here. Good, Andrew. Okay, I don't have to waste my time. So, how you want to
Oh,
send you will send this to him, right,
yeah, I'll
Henry?
just email him. Yeah, I'll just
I
email
just
him
emailed
with
him. So,
the.
Andrew Lee, just wait for an email from Henry. He will send you a lifetime deal code for the GoTo.my. That is his task. So GoTo.my LTD is very rare because it's only a few codes that he has actually given me for the mega giveaway, if you remember. Okay, that's all, guys. Thank you for coming, and I hope that you will like this, and we will see you again. So that's all. Bye bye.
Thanks, Albert. Thanks all. Bye
Yeah,
bye.
thank you. Bye bye.